Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the evening we've all been waiting for, our Year 9 options evening. Just a few things in terms of housekeeping. First of all, introduce myself. My name is Bexleyheath. I'm the principal of Bexleyheath Academy, and I look forward to speaking to all of you, hopefully, throughout the course of this evening in one workshop or another. Now, our options evening is designed to give you as much information as possible in this critical point of your child's life. But before we get on to that, I'm going to talk you through exactly how we're going to navigate through this evening. So, Miss Shallow, if you don't mind presenting the website. Fantastic. So after you leave us in this main space, this is the main space that we're going to be in. And after we say, okay, you can now go to your workshops, we'll tell you exactly where you need to go. And just so you've got that information ready to go, you'll go to our school website and you'll click on the banner that's at the top. Miss, if you go back one step, there we go. So if you click on the banner at the top, it says Year 9 options. You'll get to this wonderful page. And then if you scroll down, and Miss, if you stop right there, first of all, so that first panel that you've got there, that's this meeting that we've got with you. That's on YouTube, and that's going to be running continuously in the background. Once we've spoken to you about the process for options evening, we're going to talk to you about EBAC as well. We'll then say, okay, you can now go to your workshops. And if you scroll down, you've got a list of timings and activities of what's going to be taking place today. So the first workshop is going to start at 5:30. Now, we have sent you your child's options, what it is that they'll like to study. Now, I know there have been quite a few discussions that have been taking place since that, and it might be the case that you've decided, well, actually, maybe I don't want to listen about this particular subject, and we've made a different decision instead, and that's not a problem. So if it is, for example, you've decided that you want to look at art and design and find out more about that subject, you just click on that tile, and what will then happen, Miss, if you click on the tile, there we go. It will take you to a Google Meet link, and that Google Meet link will then present you with the teachers in that particular subject. So you'll see Miss Curzon tonight in that particular. Oh, there we go. We've got Miss Shallow. She's ready to go in. You'll have Miss Curzon in there as well as Miss Prescott. They'll talk to you about the subject, the opportunities and options that students will have if it is that they study that particular subject, and then go through some example lessons as well. Now, as soon as you're done with the first workshop, you'll then scroll down. And at 5:45, you'll then make your next selection with your child. And that can be following the timetable that's been sent out by Mr. Cooper of here's the option that your child selected, or it could be that you've decided that you're going to look at something else. You click on the next meeting, and then we'll come back together at, there we go, 6 o'clock. This will be where you return to this main meeting. It's the same link. You can click on it again, and you'll listen to our students talk about the options progress and just some recommendations or changes that they would make. And you can ask away the questions. I know that we've already had loads of questions flood in, and Mr. Cooper's got those ready to talk our students through. And then at Miss, if you scroll down again, so at 6:15, we'll go back into our workshop. So you'll have another opportunity to look at another subject. And then there we go, scroll down. And then at 6:30, you'll have your final option to pick. So 4 options altogether that you'll be able to look at by the end of tonight. Now, some of our parents have said, well, actually, what if we want to find out more about 6 different options? It could be the fact that we're interested in finding out about every single one, and the options booklet is not enough. That's not a problem whatsoever. By the end of next week, what will happen is that these tiles will still be available on our website, but we'll have a video that's linked to it. So the teacher will go through exactly what the subject is about, the career pathways that you can have, the way that the components are set up in terms of examination versus coursework, if it is that they've got a combination of the two, or if it's just exams, and also the skill sets that you'll need in order to be able to get into that subject. So those videos will be available by the end of next week. Now, the last part will take place at 6:45, and all that will happen during that segment is we'll talk to you about what needs to happen next in order for you to make those selections. Miss Shallow, you've been a very, very big supporter right now in helping us out with that. I'm hoping that we're very clear about what needs to happen next. Now, options evening. I'm going to have to say I'm really nervous this evening myself. The idea that you're going to have to sit down with your child and think about what it is that they're going to be studying for the next 2 years of their life is not only frightening for the child, but also frightening for you as parents as well, because you want to make sure that you make the right decisions. It's a crucial point in their academic journey, and it takes a lot of time and effort to think about exactly what their GCSE options are going to be. Is it going to be GCSE? Is it going to be vocational? Now, when you're choosing the subjects, you need to make sure that there are a few things that you consider. And let me talk you through a few things. Making sure that your child has a diverse skill set with the subjects that they pick. Now, it could be quite easy to go ahead and speak to your child and say, well, look, what subject that you want to do? And sometimes, especially at this age, it might be quite, I would say, the primary focus in their mind of going for teachers that they really, really like, or subjects that actually they really enjoy, but they haven't thought about exactly where it's going to take them next. It's quite easy and simple to do that. But as adults, we also have to steer our children in the right direction to give them some help and support and some guidance. And the teachers are here alongside you to be able to do that. What we need to think about is giving them a broad and balanced curriculum. And the reason why we want to do that is by making sure that we provide them every opportunity that's out there, that we don't close any doors for them right now. And we always recommend that you have a mixture of humanities, sciences, arts, in order to make sure that students end up having a well-rounded educational pathway for themselves, but also the career pathways that will come after that. It's really important that over the next couple of weeks, and you might already have had these conversations, what are the hopes and aspirations of your child? What is it they want to do in the future? And it could be very easy for them to say, well, actually, I want to be a doctor, so therefore I'm only interested in doing the sciences. But what could we have as backup subjects to support them if it is that being a doctor is not actually what they end up doing? And actually, if you're a doctor, really good, I would say, subject to go alongside that is music, for example. And we have so many musicians that took GCSE options, so many doctors that had GCSE options as music, and that could be a BTEC or a GCSE, and it sat alongside them as well. Now, teacher recommendations are also really, really important. And by now, what you should have had is 3 different options and opportunities to sit down with teachers through the use of Parents' Evening to talk about what it is that they're really, really good at. And actually, their opinions also matter, how passionate they are about a subject. It could be that they think they're really passionate about a subject, but when it comes to lesson time, it isn't really where their heart lies. We also need to be quite flexible when it comes to the future and always planning for if something does not happen and actually that career pathway that we really want to take, it doesn't end up being the career pathway that we end up having. Well, how can we make sure that the students have a range of different skill sets and knowledge to fall back on, should it be the case? Hopefully, by the end of our options evening tonight, you've got a clear idea of why it is the school has structured itself in such a way this year. And one thing I just want to make sure that everyone understands is whenever we're making decisions about curriculums as a school, we're thinking about the very best of outcomes for our students to make sure that we provide them the options and opportunities that should be available to all of our students without closing any doors for anybody. And we're quite successful this year because for the first time in the school's history, not only do we have Oxford and Cambridge applications, 5 of them in total, we've just found out this morning that one of our students has been successful in getting a place in Oxford University. That's the first time in the school's history. First time in the school's history. And what I'm not saying is that every single student needs to go to Oxford or Cambridge University. Not at all. Everyone's success is going to look slightly different from one person to another. But we want to provide everyone the opportunity to do whatever they want in the future and give them stepping stones to do so. So our option selection process is going to look slightly different. I'm going to explain that to you throughout the course of this presentation. So we are opting to take the EBAC route. We are saying that students are going to study core subjects in English, maths, and science. Alongside that, we're going to have personal development. Alongside that, we're going to have PE because it's really important for students to have that opportunity for their mental health and well-being to be very active during the course of the week. We are giving students the option of picking between humanities subjects of history or geography. We are going to say that all students are going to start off by doing Spanish, and we'll come back to that. And then they have a further 2 options. And I know that Mr. Cooper is going to be talking in depth about that. So I'm just going to hand it over to Mr. Cooper for the rest of the presentation.
Thank you very much. Michelle, if you can move on to the next slide, please. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Mr. Cooper. I am the assistant principal for Key Stage 4 across Year 9 and 10. And I'm really pleased to be able to be here today and talk to you about the options process for your son, for your daughter. So as Ms. Luther just said, and I'm going to repeat it just in case you've had some people just joining, at Bexleyheath Academy next year, pupils will study as part of their options the English Baccalaureate, or for short the EBAC range of subjects. So what that means is that there will be a core of subjects that all pupils across GCSE study, which includes English, maths and science. And just so you're completely clear in terms of how many qualifications your child will get when they leave school, they will get 2 grades in English, 1 for English language and 1 for English literature. They will get a maths grade, and they will get as a minimum a combined science grade. So it's kind of 5 core subjects. Now, in addition to that, the EBAC route of subjects, which I'm going to talk about, means that pupils will pick one of history or geography, and they will of course have the option to do both, but one of history or geography, and a modern foreign language, which, as Mr. Luther has said, will be Spanish at Bexleyheath Academy. Pupils will also have timetable lessons in PE. It's important they're getting physical exercise at least once a week, even if they choose not to kind of study sports studies or PE. And they'll also get a personal development lesson, which will be a session where we kind of teach them about wider cultural citizenship, British values, staying safe online, all of those things that are really important to them kind of being pupils that can leave school and become kind of fully embedded, contributing members to society. Next slide, please, Ms. Shao. So in terms of what the EBAC is, just so people are really clear, the EBAC is not a qualification in its own right. So your child will not leave school saying, I've got the EBAC. It's a combination of subjects, including a language, that offer an important range of knowledge and skills to young people. And I think it's really important that we kind of think back to when we were kind of this sort of age. And certainly myself and many of you, I suspect, did not know what you wanted to do age 14. Or maybe you thought you did and it changed by the time you were 17. And maybe it changed again when you were 35. And I think what we are introducing here by studying the EBAC subjects, it gives pupils access or full access to doing whatever it is that they want to do once they leave school. We're not closing off any options. And by studying these subjects, they're going to get an enhanced skill set. They're going to get a really wide range of skills that will mean that they have got this broad experience that employers are looking for. And importantly, we are making sure that this is as ambitious as possible for our pupils so that they can go off and do whatever they want to do when they leave school. Ms. Shallow, next slide, please. And I think that's quite nicely summarised just in this image here. If we think about someone when they get to 16 and they get their GCSE results, what we would like them to do is have as many of these opportunities open to them as possible. And I'm going to talk through today why we think the EBAC is the best way of doing that, and why we think that doesn't close off any avenues to your children. Thank you, Ms. Shannon. Next slide. So why study the EBAC? I've kind of touched on this already. But this is, like I said, made up of a range of subjects which are considered essential to many degrees and open doors for lots of people. So this is what we're taking as our starting point. I understand that not everyone will have ambitions to go to university, and that is absolutely fine. But if we take that as the highest form of education that you can continue to go into, that's what we want our starting point to be. We want any of your children to be able to do that if they want, leaving school. And we believe that by offering this range of subjects that are incorporated as part of the EBAC, giving them those skills in humanities, that skill in language, as well as the 2 other options that they're choosing, we're leaving that open to them. There's also quite a lot of research that shows that a pupil's socioeconomic background does impact the subjects they choose at GCSE, and that this can determine their opportunities beyond school. So what that's quite a complicated way of saying is that pupils that come from kind of more disadvantaged backgrounds, and we know, all schools across the country have these sorts of pupils within them, they tend not to choose these subjects that form part of the EBAC. And what that does is it continues this cycle of those pupils from kind of those more disadvantaged backgrounds, continuing then not to get into those sort of highest paid jobs in the future. And again, what this aims to do is kind of break that link. If we are giving our pupils the same opportunities that schools up and down the country are getting, we're not limiting them, because there are schools up and down the country that where this is kind of embedded into their curriculum, and they have those really high aspirations for their pupils. And we want the same for ours. We don't want the fact that they go to Bexleyheath Academy to be a limiting factor. We want them to be able to achieve at Bexleyheath Academy whatever they want to achieve. And we saw, or Ms. Luther spoke earlier, about how we've had success this year in someone kind of being successful with their Oxford application. Again, there's another study by UCL, the Institute of Education, which again shows that studying these subjects increases the likelihood that pupils stay in full-time education. And again, I think it's important just to explain what that means. So once a pupil leaves school at 16, they have a range of options available to them, but they have to be in some sort of education or employment. That could be that they choose to stay at Bexleyheath Academy Sixth Form, could be that they choose to go to a college, could be that they choose to take part in an apprenticeship, but they have to be in some sort of further education. And what it's called when that doesn't happen is pupils are kind of grouped in this acronym of NEET, not in education, employment or training. And that is really, if you are a NEET, not in education, employment or training post-16, that is really, really going to affect your chances in life of pursuing what it is that you want to do. And again, there have been studies that have shown that by studying the EBAC range of subjects, you are more likely to go on into further education, whether that, like I say, is A-levels, a BTEC level 3 course, an apprenticeship. It's been proven that kind of studying these subjects kind of positively affects those outcomes. And similarly, and this is kind of quite a surprising one, there is also research that shows that studying the EBAC can help to improve a pupil's performance in English and maths. And I don't know the science behind this. I imagine that as part of the skills that they're learning, maybe in their humanities or their languages subjects, it helps with the way in which they then are able to access these subjects, maybe the rigor of those subjects. And again, I think it's worth explaining why this is so important, because I'm not sure everybody understands this. With English and maths, these are qualifications that a pupil has to pass. And what I mean by that is, if a pupil does not pass their English language or their maths at GCSE, if they don't get that grade 4, then whatever they go on to in post-16, so whether that is college, whether it's sixth form here, whether it's apprenticeship, by law, that place, for want of a better word, that provides that education, they have to continue to provide them with their English and maths, and they have to resit that English and maths all the way up until they're 19. So again, every year there are pupils up and down the country that don't pass their English or maths, and they then are re-entered in year 12. They're then re-entered in year 13. Some of them are re-entered age 19. And the reality is that the chances of passing that decrease every year you leave school, because you're not getting that full-time English and maths lessons that you are in school. And so again, the more we can do to make sure that pupils are passing that English and maths, and again, studies have shown that studying this EBAC range of subjects does positively contribute to the grades that pupils are able to achieve in English and maths. Next slide, please, Ms. Shallett. So in terms of why studying a language, and I know a lot of the questions I've been receiving have been centered around studying a language, so I do want to spend some time on this. I think, first of all, studying a language can be really rewarding and exciting. You know, it is not just learning a language, it's learning about another culture, it's learning about another place in the world that opens the door to work in that place in the future, should you so wish. And again, for many people, that might not be what they desire now, but in the future, they might wish, actually, I wish I did have that language so that I could go and do this. And that's what we're aiming to try and make sure that it's possible for pupils here. A lot of people have been saying that you know, maybe finding language quite difficult. But again, I think you've got to remember that you've been studying Spanish since year 7, and lots of pupils haven't. So you've got that foundation of having studied it in years 7, 8, and 9. There will be pupils that join Spanish in year 10, and you've already got those foundations which they don't have. And so, you know, while it can be a challenge, it is going to greatly increase your employability. And I think, again, if we take that starting point of you being able to do whatever it is you want in the future, there are some graduate schemes, so employers that kind of really target the top graduates up and down the school, that language is now becoming a requirement. So, for example, the graduate scheme offered by Lidl at the moment, you know, they require a language. They want their graduates to have that skill to be able to go and converse with people around the world. And again, in terms of the very top universities, Russell Group universities, again, they have named the languages as the subject that opens doors to more degrees at university than any other subject. So I think there's a wide range of reasons why we, why we are saying that at Bexleyheath will study a language. But I really think it's something to be excited about and not something to fear. And I think, you know, in a moment, Bexleyheath Grades is going to talk a little bit about how we support pupils with that, particularly pupils with SEN, who might find that more challenging in the early stages. Next slide, please, Michelle. I mean, and I'm just returning here to a diagram I showed you earlier, but hopefully this kind of visualizes it. A lot of pupils do not know what they want to do now, and that's not a problem. I don't think I knew what I wanted to do probably until I started teaching age 24 after I'd done a couple of other jobs. And I was able to do that because I had the range of skills, the range of qualifications that allowed me to change career age, whatever it was, 24, 25. And I think it's fine that pupils don't know what they want to do now. And it's fine for them to change their mind. But what we really want to ensure is that by studying these subjects, we give them as many opportunities as they can. Michelle, next slide, please. So in terms of how this process is going to work, and in terms of the options they'll have to pick from, this table hopefully outlines what it will look like. So they will have their core of English, Maths and Science, and I've included Spanish in the core because it is one of the ones that they will study and they will not choose to study. Pupils will then select one subject from each of these option blocks. And what you will notice is that in option 1, that will be geography or history. But that, for example, in option 2, they then have the option to pick again geography or history. What it is worth noting here is that all of the options in option 3 and option 2 are not replicated. So there are some options, for example, that are only available in option 2 and some that are only available in option 3. So if I take ICT as an example, if that's one that you really wanted to study, you would have to pick that from your option block 2 because it is not in option block 3. The reason there is a little asterisk by art and design and graphics is because you cannot select both of those subjects. You have to select one of art and design or graphics. And again, that's just because the content covered in those is far too similar towards separate qualifications. So it is art and design or graphics. And Mr. Shallow, if you move the slide on, there are a couple of kind of visual things of what that might look like. So you can hopefully see the yellow circles there. So when your child makes their selection, they will, for instance, pick from option 1, geography, from option 2, triple science, and from option 3, history. And actually that has reminded me of a point about science, which is that the minimum that a student will study is the combined science, which will give you 2 science grade. But as one of your options, you could select the 3rd science, which when you leave school would give you those 3 qualifications in chemistry, physics, and biology. So again, this is why it's really important you're thinking about these decisions now and thinking about, for instance, if you want to have a career in medicine, if you want a career as a doctor, it may be that actually you need to seriously think about studying the triple science and looking at the benefits of studying that triple science rather than just the combined science. I've got a couple more of these, Michelle, if you could move it on. So again, just visually on this next slide, you could pick, for example, history in option 1, music in option 2, and art and design in option 3. And Michelle, if you move on to the next one as well. And again, we could select history in option 1, food prep and nutrition in option 2, and health and social care in option 3. And what I've tried to do is show you here that although it might seem like your options are being, or you might have less choice than in previous years, there's still plenty of opportunity across option block 2 and 3 to pick those subjects which might suit the path you want to go down. So, for example, ICT and creative media on the slide that's up at the moment, or food prep and nutrition and health and social care in the previous slide. Michelle, I'm just going to ask you to move on. I'm conscious I'm running short of time. So, and the next one, please. In terms of helping make this decision, there's a number of things for you to be aware of. So, we have provided you with a link to the options booklet, which can also be found on the website that Michelle showed earlier. We're also going to send out communication following this evening, which will give you the opportunity to book in a session with a member of SLT if you think that your child needs some particular help in making their decisions. And for any pupils that are listening as well, so I'm just going to need to move around so my lights come back on in a moment. Speak to your teachers over the next couple of weeks. They are the subject experts. They can tell you, whether you would be a good fit for that subject, what skills you're going to learn in that subject. So please do speak to them, as the experts. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hand over to Miss Elliot Graves rather than continue with a couple of things, and I'll cover them in the next steps. So Miss Elliot Graves, please could you just talk about the support you'll be able to offer kind of from their perspective?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. I just want to talk for just a couple of minutes on thinking around support around the Spanish in the EBAC and how that fits into Bexleyheath Academy as an inclusive school. I did want to start with a very short anecdote just to say that I did study French up to GCSE, and as a dyslexic learner, I found it extremely difficult at that time to cope with the vocabulary and the fact that there's a lot more words in French that are spelt with double consonants as opposed to English, and that was confusing me. However, overcoming those initial difficulties did give me a huge option in life. And that even though I have completed a PhD, it is actually the fact that I spoke French, or I speak French, that offered me my two most important jobs. My first job at 16, that I was able to do in a hotel, which gave me that independence that I so craved as a young adult in the making. And my second one was a tutoring job that I got whilst I was doing my master's degree, that helped actually pay for my master's degree and allowed me to progress in my academic career all the way up to PhD level. So I do understand both sides and really do want to emphasize how important it is to give all students, including students with SEND, the opportunity to have options in their learning. So I just wanted to make clear that from a governmental guidance perspective, all learners, including learners with SEND, have a statutory right to a broad and balanced curriculum, and that we can't exclude a student from a modern foreign language just on the basis that they may struggle with it initially because they've got special educational needs, or because they may need to focus on their English and maths, because that would be discriminatory. It would assume actually from the very start of their Key Stage 4 journey that they should not have the opportunity to complete the EBAC and all of the opportunities that that offers. So what we are going to do is we're going to ensure that everyone has the same start with the same opportunity to follow the EBAC curriculum. We're going to be adding and increasing the support in Spanish as well as in other lessons, because all lessons matter. So same support increase in English if a student is struggling, if a student is struggling in Spanish. And we will be reviewing this all throughout the first 2 or 3 terms, to ensure that in cases where it is absolutely necessary to take a different approach to a student's curriculum, then we make an informed choice based on their actual progress and need, rather than assuming from the start that they can't do it, or rather than assuming just because of their experience in year 9 that they won't be able to cope with the option and the opportunity. So the support is going to be there. It is going to be an ongoing, continuous discussion, and our aim is only to offer the most opportunity for success to all of our students. Thank you, Mr. Cooper.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott-Graves. And just before I kind of send you to your workshops, Michelle, if you can move on to the next slide, please. So in terms of consider the next one as well, thank you. So as you're in these workshops, I think it's worth thinking about these sorts of things as you hear from your kind of subject experts. So do consider, as they're going through these, like, are you good at the subject? Are you interested in it? Do you enjoy it? Because really you want to pick those subjects as your option subjects that you are going to enjoy over the next couple of years. You want to pick subjects which you are, interested in, and that you can see as being helpful in terms of whatever it is that might be the next steps in your career. Do find out about how courses are marked. Some are just exams, some will have elements of coursework. That's quite a big difference in terms of year 10 and 11 from what you've done in year 7, 8 and 9. There will be some subjects where you will be required to sort of more independently complete coursework across the year. And again, find out if you think that is a good fit for you. As well, look at the topics you'll be studying. So your teachers in a moment will talk you through like what the course entails and what different topics and skills you will learn as part of that course. And again, do consider how it fits with your other GCSEs. It's not a problem necessarily if you choose kind of 4 entirely different GCSEs, but do think if there is a path you want to pursue, do think about how they combine with one another, or how maybe if you choose one coursework subject, do you want to maybe select 3 subjects that have coursework? There are all these things to consider as you are making your choices, and to ask your kind of teachers in the next sessions. And finally, and I'm going to return to this as part of the next steps, please, you have to be a bit selfish here. Don't just follow your friends. Okay, it is really not a good way of choosing a subject just because your friend is doing it. Okay, so really be selfish, really think about you at this time. I think now, though, we're ready to hand over to the workshop. So thank you very much for your time. Miss Shallow directed you to the website earlier where you can find those links. So the first workshop will be from 5:30 till 5:45. So please go onto the website, click on the appropriate tile that will take you to a workshop, and enjoy spending some time with your subject experts. Thank you very much. Hi, you guys. We'll get started in a minute. People are just finishing up in their workshops. Okay, thank you, everybody. So hopefully you've had a really good opportunity there to go into a couple of workshops and hear more about that subject that you were thinking about picking as one of your GCSE options. With me now, I'm very grateful, very thankful to these students from year 10 and 11 who have given up some time to answer some questions about how they arrived at making their GCSE choices, but also kind of what advice, they would give to you making your selection. So what I'm going to ask, please, is I'm going to ask for them in turn to introduce themselves. So, guys, when I come to you, please can you tell people your name, what year you're in, but also what subjects you picked as your options. So if I go from the top down, Alex, your name, please, what year you're in and what options you picked.
Oh, my name's Alex and I'm year 11 and I've picked business, sports and IT.
Thank you, Alex. And Lexi and Gabby?
I'm Gabby. I'm in year 11 and I chose business, history and sociology.
I'm Lexi, I'm year 11 and I chose art, music and geography.
Thank you very much. Adama and Anna?
I'm Adama, I'm in year 10 and I took business, Spanish, media and graphic design.
I'm Isla, I'm in year 10 and I chose geography, business, media and engineering.
Thank you. And finally, Ruby and Renan.
Hi, I'm Ruby. I'm a year 11 and I have picked geography, media studies and drama.
Hi, I'm Renan. I'm in year 10 and I took graphics, media, business and engineering.
Lovely, thank you very much. So what I've done is I've collated some questions that year 9 have been asking me over the last kind of week or so and thought that rather than me answer them, I would open these out to pupils your age who have gone through this in the last 1 or 2 years. So Ruby and Renan, if we start off with you, please. What helped you to make your GCSE options choices that you made?
So I picked geography, media and drama, and I just picked subjects that I really enjoyed. And before I loved performing, I loved drama lessons from year 7 to 9, and media was a new subject for me. And I'm on social media, as I know a lot of you are, and so I thought that studying media, studying how things end up on social media and the effect they can have would be a really good career for me. And geography, I just like knowing where places are in the world, and it's been really enjoyable. I've really enjoyed it.
My sister had a big she pointed me in the right direction for my my GCSEs since she's in the year above, and she directed me and helped me to find my interest with all the different components, and I also researched a lot of them.
Great, thank you both very much. What I'm going to do is move on to sort of what advice you might give someone who's making their GCSE choices now. So if I go to, let's try Alex, what advice would you give to someone that's making their GCSE choices over the next few weeks?
I'd say the number one advice will be that I would recommend to year 9 students picking their GCSE options will be kind of go off of what you want to do and don't let anyone else, like your mates or your parents or maybe even teachers try and persuade you into picking a certain option, even though you may hesitate and think about, oh, do I really want to do that? Make sure you know what you want to do, because it's your GCSE options, and at the end of the day, it's your career that you're going to be having to kind of deal with later. So if you pick a subject now because your parents told you, or because all your mates are choosing it, then maybe later you might regret that choice. So I say, yeah, just make sure you know what you want to do, and don't let anyone else interfere with what your choices are.
Thanks, Alex. And I certainly wouldn't discourage people from talking to parents, of course. But I think Alex is right. At the end of the day, it is your decision, and of course, your parents will help you to make that decision. Adama and Isla, why did you make the GCSE choices you made? Why did you pick your subjects?
Well, I've always had an interest in graphic design and media without actually knowing the names and terms for it. As a younger child, I was always curious on why people were interested in certain demographics or interested to certain stuff, or why do these people always love these shows? And growing up, I always had that question. And in 2019, I got interested in making these posters, billboards, business cards, and knowing that there was an option for me to take as a GCSE, it excited me. I did my research on it, and obviously, what helped me as well is my parents, because even though they didn't take GCSEs because they didn't live in this country before, they had a lot of education and knowledge about the subjects I was about to choose and what I could and could not do.
When I was a child, I used to be interested in more things such as like engineering, because both of my parents were into like the jobs that involved engineering. So I chose my GCSE subjects based on that. So as I chose engineering, and also I chose media because I was influenced by my sister as well, because she used to want to go into things that included media. So I mostly my GCSE subjects were mostly influenced by my parents and my sister, when they should have really been influenced by myself.
Okay, thank you both. And Lexi and Gabby, if I come to you, because I know you're in year 11, so you've done a little bit more of your GCSE. Can you talk to me about how the options that you do at GCSE are different from the foundation subjects you will have done in year 7, 8 and 9? So how are they more difficult, or how do they build on what you've done in year 7, 8 and 9?
Well, firstly, obviously, because everyone who chose a certain subject are put in all in one class, I feel like the class is more interactive, where everyone's kind of interested in the same topic rather than everyone being put into one class together. And then the topics are more in-depth rather than in year 7 to year 9, you kind of learn like basic knowledge, whereas in the upper years, in year 10 and 11, you kind of learn more like in-depth and more the courses that you do for GCSE. And then touching on things such as coursework subjects, I feel like, well, first of all, coursework is kind of like a basic knowledge of what you know, and you kind of do it throughout your entire year. So in the first year, you do one piece of coursework, and your second, you do another piece. And both of them are worth 25% of your grade rather than like a very big exam. But I feel like as long as you keep up to date to your coursework, the subjects are good as well. And yeah.
I also feel like it's different as well, because you can get like the BTEC lessons as well, such as like art and design. So it's not based off like the exam, it's based off the amount of coursework you do and the grades you get from that coursework being marked. I also feel like it's different because you need to do your own research on it as well, because there's so much more in depth in these lessons. Like you learn so much more than you do in year 7 to 9. Yeah, there's just a lot to it, and I feel like you just need to do more research by yourself, research what's in these courses, like what you would need to do, what grade boundaries you need. So yeah, it's just very different.
And another thing, because you choose only 3 topics, your lessons are more frequent, so you kind of it's like more interactive, like you learn more rather than having them spaced out once a week, which you have in year 9.
And it's also different because you need to catch up in your own time as well. Like, for example, I do art, so there is a lot to it, like a lot of coursework, a lot of drawing, and most of us need to catch up in our own time, because you don't have that amount of time to do so much work in one lesson or 2 lessons a week. So yeah, you just need to make sure you have your own time as well during the week and on the weekends to do your coursework. So yeah.
Thank you very much. I think that's a good point about coursework. I just dipped in and out of some of the workshops, and I found out that in food tech, for example, you do a 1,500 word essay as part of your coursework. So I think that's a really important point that they've made. I'm going to ask each of you kind of what you enjoy about your options. And Adama and I, I'm going to start with you, please. And Adama, if you don't mind, because a lot of people are going to be studying Spanish, if you could just tell us what it is particularly that you enjoy about the study of Spanish.
Well, personally, I've loved learning languages. As coming from a multicultural background, I already came out speaking 2 languages, which is English and French. And growing up, I learned Bambara, which was the home language of my parents. So languages was always incorporated and helped me talk to family members better. And my first initial option was actually to choose French, but that got denied. And even though that got denied, I still wanted to choose a language, because a language not only benefits you and your skills and the understanding of even the English language, because a lot of English words are influenced by other language, like the word tranquille is a French word. And learning other language helps you develop your own understanding of English, and helps open a variety of doors when you go into the open career. Like, if, for instance, if you wanted to go into real estate and one of your customers wasn't really that fluent English, only knew Spanish, the fact that you know that you develop some bond with that customer, giving you even a better chance to sell that house, and it gives you a chance to flaunt your skills. Spanish is a skill. It's not like, oh, after your GCSEs that, oh, you don't need it anymore. It's something that you're gonna spot throughout your life. Little things that said, oh, this word looks like the Spanish word, or listening to certain music, because obviously now we live in especially London, it's a multicultural, diverse world. Everyone is from different backgrounds, and even learning the language can tell you a lot more insight about a person and their culture and their background.
Thank you, Adama. And Ida, what do you enjoy about the option subjects you picked?
Well, as I picked engineering and media, those kind of include using like computers, and obviously engineering is making different products. So obviously right now we've been designing like like Bluetooth chargers, like wireless chargers. And what I've enjoyed about that is being able to look at like different products, being able to research about them and being able to draw them. And as we've said, also media does that. Like right now, our coursework has been making like either horror movie posters, magazines, or any type of print newspaper. So I've been able to also research about that, and that's what I really enjoy about my GCSE subjects.
Thank you both very much. I'm conscious some of you have not been able to speak loads. So what I'm going to go very briefly to each of you is just your final top tip. So if you imagine if you were in year 9 now and you're coming up to making your option choices, what would just be your top tips that you think is the most important thing that they know when they go away and make their choices? We'll start with Alex, please.
I would say the top tip would be kind of look at like what you enjoy. So like maybe your hobbies, your outer curricular activities. So for example, if you like playing sport, you like learning sport, then maybe you should pick sport. If you like going on social media and whatever, then you should probably pick something to do that correlates with that hobby. So I say that's my number 1 tip, kind of try and pick stuff that you enjoy doing outside in your free time, which will kind of link in to that option you pick.
Thank you, Alex. And Ruby and Renan, just in case we don't get time to go to everybody else. Ruby and Renan.
I think my top tip would be to research the course, because you're going to be studying it for the next 2 years, and it's really important that you have the motivation to be revising. And say if you struggle with exam stress, I struggle with exam stress, then maybe BTEC might be a better option for you, and it will benefit you and how you're feeling about your exams.
My top tip would be like, don't listen to like anyone else really, like that's trying to force you to do any of your options, because I know I like did a bit, but I enjoy what I pick, and I'm glad I made the correct decisions. So that's
Thank you, Renan. And I think that's important. And I'll just leave you with I think get advice from as many different people as you can, but ultimately, like Renan says, the decision lies with you. And you can, of course, get that advice so that you make the best decision you can, but ultimately it is your decision. Before you go off to your workshops, thank you very much, Alex, Adama, Isla, Ruby, Renan, Lexi, and Gabby for giving up their time this evening. I hope you found that useful, Year 9. But now what I'm going to ask you to do is to dip back into those final 2 workshops that you selected last week, and go and find out a little bit more about those other options that you've got. Thank you, everybody, and welcome back. So I hope you've had a really good opportunity to get into those option subjects and hear a little bit more from the subject experts for those options. I've been into one or two, in fact, more than one or two, 5, 6, 7 of the workshops, and was really pleased with sort of the information that you're being given. And I think you've got a really good foundation now as the basis of sort of making those choices over the coming weeks. I learned some quite interesting things, particularly in the food tech session I went into, which I think I referenced in the student panel, like writing a 1,500-word essay as part of your coursework, doing a 3-hour cooking exam. I didn't know that, so I've certainly learned some things from dipping into those sessions. I saw in history and sociology as well, you're getting a little bit of a taster of what the subject would look like. So yeah, I really hope you found that useful. Miss Shadow, if you could just move on to the slide that says next steps in terms of kind of what we're going to do over the coming weeks. So, and the next one, please. So ultimately, you now have a period of about 3 weeks to sort of firm up what it is that you would like to study. And there's a number of different things that I think you can do when making those decisions. So I think the first thing would be to read through the subject information book that is in your GCSE options booklet. So that has been sent out in the email communication that you would have received. You've also seen it on the school website. There is a link to the booklet, and that again will run through some of the information that you've been given today. You will have that to be able to look through at home and look at some of the other workshops that you weren't able to attend this evening. I think importantly as well, like, do discuss this with your parents, older brothers and sisters, maybe friends in year 10 and 11, or people that have gone through this before, and really find out what will be helpful when making the decision, so that you're not making it on your own. Kind of get as much guidance as you can from those different people. You know, ultimately, as Renan advised in the student workshop, it is your decision, but do lean on your parents and get their advice about what they think might be a good fit for you. We're also going to send out some further communication following this session, just with some information around if you think that either yourself as a pupil or a parent of a pupil, if you think you'd like some further guidance from a member of SLT, we're going to send out a form that's just going to invite you to fill that in if you would like a one-to-one conversation to discuss what subjects might be best for your child, or kind of advice on what we think would it help you really in helping them to make that decision. So we'll send that out. Please do fill that out if you would like a call back, because those calls will happen sometime in the week of the 5th of February, so the final week of half term. Also, pupils, talk to your teachers in lessons. Kind of they know you're about to make this decision. They know it's a really important decision. So speak to them again about the subject. You know, any questions that you have following today, you know, ask them in your lessons, because again, they will be really well placed to help you with what the subject entails and around, you know, whether it's a good fit for you next year. Ultimately, we're working to a deadline that falls within half term. So Sunday, the 18th of February is when we're asking you to have made these choices by. That is going to be a very simple format. It will be in the same format as you chose, or how you chose your workshops for this evening. So there will be a Google form where we will ask you to select one of history or geography. We will ask you to select one subject from option block 2 and one subject from option block 3. We will also ask you to select a backup option. And what we mean by a backup option is if for whatever reason you are unable to study one of the ones that you chose from option block 2 or 3, you would do that backup option in its place. So that's how we will ask you to do that. That will be on a Google form. And like I say, you've got a couple of weeks in school now to gather as much information as you can. And you've then got the half term to kind of finalise that decision with parents and fill that form in. And then I will start chasing people on Monday the 19th of February who haven't made that decision yet. I did just want to touch on one thing Adama said about languages. So Adama mentioned French and being unable to do French. So what I just wanted to make clear is if there are any of you that are fortunate enough to speak another language already, it's something you speak at home, where there is a GCSE in that option, we will be able to enter you for that in addition to Spanish. So it wouldn't be in place of Spanish, it would be in addition to, because Adama will be entered for French. It's just that she doesn't study it in school. So Adama is already, you know, a fluent French speaker. So if there are any of you, and there's a wide range of languages, not just European languages, where GCSEs are offered. So if you do speak another home language and there is a GCSE in it, we can of course enter you for that in addition to Spanish. I'm not sure. I think I'm the last presenter, so I think that's it from me. Please do come and speak to me, if you need any further guidance on kind of the process. Similarly, any parents that are watching and want any further kind of information, please contact me in the first instance. I'm kind of leading on the options process, and if I can't sort of adequately answer your query, then I can at least direct you to who might be able to. But thank you all very much for your time. I do appreciate you giving up your evenings, and I hope you found it useful. I look forward to speaking to you all again soon. Thank you very much.